All right, folks, it is Royal Rumble time, predictions and all. We're going through it all on WWT Live coming up next.
Hey guys, my name is Jade Cargill, and you are watching Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
What's up, y'all? TK Trinidad here. Man, it's that time, Royal Rumble, and I am not alone. Like y'all knew, like I said, we should have a show before the show, but then I don't think we probably would get there. And so I'm pleasantly, really happy that the professor is in the building.
Forward. Go forward. Go forward.
This
How
is
you
still
doing?
like the funniest intro in the world. What in the world? I'm good. It's Friday. It's Royal Rumble weekend. It's going to be a very, very big weekend in the world of wrestling. And I'm pumped that we get to preview it here, of course, on WWT Live.
Yes, and then also we have a guest. I mean, Seth is in the streets, and we have a guest. Wrestling with Honey is in the building as well, a new guest to Women's Wrestling Talk. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, guys. So happy to be here. Really exciting. It's the weekend. It's the weekend we've all been waiting for.
That part, definitely that, and I mean, it is definitely exciting. But let's get into it. So, Royal Rumble predictions. What you got, Professor?
Well, arguably, this could probably be one of the most unpredictable Royal Rumbles we've had in recent memory. If you think back to this time last year, we knew that Cody Rhodes would be making his return. We kind of had the inkling that he'd probably come in at number 30. Everybody was talking about Cody coming in to finish his story because the year before he made his WWE return. And it happened, though we did have some unpredictable moments in that. And on the Women's Rumble, we had Rhea Ripley come in and do some significant things. This year, I think both the men's and women's Rumble could have multiple winners. I mean, you could make the case for a number of people. Obviously, your front runners would be a Cody Rhodes and a CM Punk, who obviously 6 months ago, CM Punk would not have been on the radar for this. But, things change fast in the world of pro wrestling, as we've seen this week. So you could have CM Punk in that space, which would make sense. You could have obviously Cody Rhodes in that space, which would make sense. Based on what we saw this past Monday, you could now make the argument that a certain Gunther could be a front runner, given what he did last year, going literally number 1 till virtually the end, the longest run in a traditional Royal Rumble. Plus, he's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. Having him fight a champion, be that Seth or Roman or whoever's holding the Universal title then, would be very interesting. Then you could make the case about a Drew McIntyre, who has been making quite a bit of noise. A Jey Uso could come in kind of as a dark horse. There are a lot of potential scenarios that we have, along with the idea of some names and faces we haven't seen on the men's side. So I think it's unpredictable. On the women's side, I think it's also unpredictable for a couple of reasons. You've got some interesting names on the women's side who I think are options. Obviously, we're talking about the 4 women there. Bayley, Bianca, Becky, Nia, all of them are front runners to potentially win this whole thing. I don't know if Raquel Rodriguez will be healed and be back in time. We could see a Liv Morgan appearance. There are lots of options. So I think coming into the Royal Rumble matches for both the men and the women, my answer is it's extremely unpredictable and could come down to a lot of very interesting moments.
Dang, you did a whole mouthful. Let's.
I probably shouldn't have gone first because now Wrestling with Honey's like, oh, what am I gonna say?
Honestly, I'm glad you did, because no pun intended, I am at a crossroads on both Rumbles. You are absolutely on the money. I think you hit it right on the head. It's just way too unpredictable. I don't think it's been this unpredictable since probably the 2017-ish, when you still had guys like Taker and Strowman and guys in there. But There's just so many. And I think what's clever this year that they did, which I'm happy they did, is that they didn't spoil us with the whole roster and picking out the number and, giving away too much. If there's anything that I can totally applaud Mr. Paul Levesque for doing is keeping that really close to the chest, because he's always been very good with that. But picks, front runners, I have a couple, and I've honestly been watching Rumbles all day. The last one I watched was last year, because I also wanted to see the correspondence of revived rivalries that we might have missed, that we might not have hit this year. One that really stood out was that Drew McIntyre was a highlight, but he was eliminated by Cross, and Cross has been on a rise. And it's also like, I've been banking on Cross for a while, but last year Gunther was my pick. I still think he can be a front runner and win, but I can't say final picks. It's just completely ridiculous because there's so many banger superstars in there, and still many we don't even know that could come back, that could return, surprises, anybody, anything, even the women. The same thing with the women. But I would have, for the women, I would have Nia and Bailey as front runners, just spitballing, you know what I mean? And then Gunther and Cross, but for, like, off the top of my head right now, because I still can't fathom that we're going to have this much action this weekend.
Yeah. It's almost a bit much. Like, I feel like for the women, we only have 6 confirmed entrants right now. The men, we have 11. And it's just kind of like, it was one thing when they had like 20 something and you had 5 where you could play around with. But it's like now, because we don't know how many people from NXT are going to be showing up. We don't know what they're going to do. I mean, obviously they're not going to flood it with like a lot of Forbidden Door folks, but we don't know if they're going to pull out some legends. And it's just kind of like, it's very overwhelming. And I think maybe they did that on purpose. So it's just like, yo, we're going to overwhelm them with nothing, so that they don't go overboard. Because how are you going to go overboard with 15 plus, 20 plus entrants that you can speculate across the board? Like, I mean, you can throw in half the women's NXT division if you wanted to. So I think whoever, and it could be Triple H, it could be in addition to the writers and creatives, but whoever is made that decision, I think they did it right, because like,
very smart.
Yeah, the dirt sheets, the spec, like, now you could just pull out anything out of the hat, and one person may or may not be wrong or whatever, but there's really just like, you could make them anything. But I do agree. I definitely have Bailey on top. However, this might be the case to have a newbie to kind of create an additional story for the women's side. The men's side, I'm looking at CM Punk. But a lot of people are saying, what about Cody's story? And we kind of went into a lot about that on what is that? Today's Friday? On Wednesday, talking about like he could do Cody has another 5 to 7 years, if he doesn't get injured, all this other stuff, that he can finish this story. I don't know why he has to finish it this year. People are making a big thing about that, but it's just one of those things where it's just like it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing, but it's also very like, I don't really like surprises. I'm the girl who likes to read the back of the book first and then go back to I'm weird like that. So this is just kind of like,
that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I can't pick it up. Shout to MDB 999 in the chat, Bosa in the chat, Eric in the chat, and a Cool Gamer in the chat. Eric is saying Bailey for the women, CM Punk for the men. Definitely can't wait for tomorrow. MDB 999 saying CM Punk is going to headline for WrestleMania 40. Again, we don't even know if, because he disappointed me so much last year for not showing up to WrestleMania with The Rock. I just feel like bro, just stop teasing. Just don't do it. But we can, it's possible. So, and then also too, what I saw before we went on, Mercedes is in Boston with Trinity. They're both in Boston. But that doesn't mean that they can't take a flight to meet, like, it starts at 6. But
4.5
you know,
hours.
I don't know if they dropped that. I don't know if they're all in
Yeah.
cahoots. I was just watching The Crown, and they just hired somebody to help Princess Diana and William, you know, take back the public and all this other stuff. So I don't know. They might have those type of people. They might have those Olivia Pope type people who do it for wrestling. But I
Scandal.
just scandal all over.
Scandal of it all, I tell you.
Yes.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Terrible. Did you say your picks, Professor?
I didn't, because it was hard to land on one. It is hard to land on one, and I don't know if I want to try, just because there are too many unpredictable factors in here, and again, too many open slots. Which, to the point that you both were making, I think it's good. If you remember Rumbles in the past, they'd name like 20 people, and you could look among those 20 and go, okay, I already know this one is not going to main event WrestleMania. Okay, this one is not. All right. So what it is, you automatically like check out when they show up. So I think that's the beautiful part about this, is we're invested all the way in, because we don't know who most of the field is. I also think this is probably one of the first years where we wouldn't need a surprise in the Royal Rumble to make it feel like it was a fulfilling Rumble, because so many great stories are already being told right now that you get to mix those up, and I think we'd be okay. So I think Bailey is probably your front runner on the women's side, although Becky would be interesting to see. I think there's a way to get Bailey. Here's the problem. There's a way to get all of them into a main event spot at WrestleMania without them having to win the Rumble. So that is kind of where the pressure isn't on for a Bailey or a Becky to win. I think people want Bailey to win because she hasn't won a Rumble before, and she hasn't had one of those massive moments that she is well deserving of. So it'd be fun to see that happen for her. So I think that's why she's kind of my pick at this point. In terms of the men, it is too wide open, but I think it's safe to say, and I say this with my eyes closed very, very carefully, that it's likely that Cody won't repeat. I say that carefully for obvious reasons, but now if he does repeat, I'm not mad at it, but I think it'll be interesting to see. Or wow, here's a crazier thought. You know, there's only been one time where there was actually a tie in the Royal Rumble. I believe it was 1994.
I just watched this
Luger
one.
and Bret
and
Hart.
Bret the Hitman Hart, which led to WrestleMania 10, and they both had to fight Yokozuna in one night.
I like my historians. So, I mean, we could have a moment like that. You know, we almost had a moment like that again in 2005 with Batista and John Cena, but they restarted the match. It'd be crazy to have
to the date.
Yeah, it'd be crazy to have a tie at the Royal Rumble, but it could happen. And in that case, Punk and Cody.
I think it explains why all the PLE events so far, the announcements and their locations and where they're going to be at, are so top tier this year.
Yes.
Like every PLE is going to be a banger this year again, like last year. We just don't know where it's going to go. There's so many variables to consider.
I agree.
This is very
I love this season.
It's so good. So good.
Like we have like LA, we have award season, and then the rest of the world has Mania season. It's hilarious. But what other matches we have next for Royal Rumble?
Well, we have the U.S. title match, which is a hotly contended match. The champion Logan Paul will defend his championship for the first time against Kevin Owens. This is interesting, of course, because last year Logan Paul was in the Royal Rumble, had a big moment with Ricochet. Meanwhile, Kevin Owens was fighting Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Now these two are battling to see who will walk out as the U.S. champion.
It's interesting. Bosa did say something really. So our informational officer, he said, "I love WrestleMania Season 2. Just wondering how they make 4 matches stretch for 3 hours." I was actually looking at the card, like pulling the stuff for today, and I was like, I must be missing something. And I literally checked several sites to just make sure that like, wait, because I'm like, this is very short, and maybe they are going to be throwing in some additional matches or some other things, or I think you're going to have more of a, I don't know, like a hybrid between like the Super Bowl and like UFC and boxing matches. Maybe they'll have like an all-out, like, I don't know, like I'm curious how they are going to fill those 3 hours with the matches. I mean, obviously the 30-man for the men and the women are going to take up some time, but yeah, I don't know.
I would think maybe we might get an announcement for a Hall of Fame induction. No, around this time, or is it usually after? I think usually
it's
like
usually
they do
a little
right
after, but
it's, you know, 'tis the season. It's like, if you know it's coming, you know, it's like, you know it's coming. We on the road. We on the way.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because when you look at last year's card, it was kind of a similar situation where you had basically 5 or 6 matches tops. It wasn't a lot of matches. It was more so, obviously the Rumbles themselves were each over an hour. So you had that. And then you had a women's title match in there. You had, because it started with the men's Rumble. Then you had the what was then the controversial lights out match, the Mountain Dew dark match, which ended up being the final match for Bray Wyatt, which is still crazy to think of. Bianca Belair defended the women's title. Rhea Ripley won the women's Rumble, and then Roman Reigns defended the title. So they had 5 matches last year at the Rumble. So it's not that far off. I think we have to remember that both Rumbles are going to take the full hour at least. Yeah. And in both cases, I know the women's Rumble went like an hour and 1. The men's Rumble went like an hour 15. So if you're looking at that, that's 2 hours and 15 minutes already.
Maybe it seems not as much because of the entrance for the men and women. Maybe because there's less entrance, you're like, okay, well, how are they gonna? Maybe that's what it is. And
throwing us off.
The EST
Cedric from the streets. Excellent. He has landed in Florida, so definitely be on the lookout for him and Candace. Shout out to Candace. She did a lot of interviews at the press junket earlier today. We're gonna be dropping those interviews today and tomorrow morning. So a lot of great stuff. Yes.
Also, we'll get to the other match. I just thought about how this is going to end up being 3 hours easily. I figured it out.
So what else we got next?
So Kevin, did we have predictions, of course, on Kevin Owens and Logan Paul?
Oh yes. Yeah, Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. That's what we were on. Yeah.
I think Logan Paul.
I guess that's the logical answer.
Yeah. I've been saying this for a long time. Logan Paul is going to be the U.S. champion through WrestleMania.
Just sign a multi-year deal.
Yeah, I believe at WrestleMania he will lose that title to LA Knight.
Oh.
And I think that's where we're going to see LA Knight's big moment happen at a WrestleMania in Philly, the birthplace of America. He wins the U.S. title. Just stands to make sense.
That's pretty good.
Do you think with LA Knight, I know they did an amazing piece. I think it wasn't Sports Illustrated.
I think it was CBS. I think
CBS. They did a piece on him where do you think, because there's one thing when the fans are pushing for LA Knight, and it's another thing when WWE is pushing for LA Knight. And I get that it's more fan pushing than WWE. Like WWE's like, oh yeah, like he's been there, but they're not pushing him like they push like Roman Reigns, and he's not going to get that type of push. But for some reason, I'm just not feeling like, I feel like LA Knight is like what they do to like the Miz. It's like the Miz is always there. He's reliable. But like the Miz has never gotten like those crazy pushes. And correct me if I'm wrong, like other folks, main eventers and stuff like that. So like I feel like LA Knight is deserving of it. It's just kind of like giving him a WrestleMania moment. I feel like that's what we want. but if there's something better, he won't get that moment.
Well, and partially, to that end, I think almost every year the WWE universe anoints somebody that they really, really like. And I mean, I think back to obviously 2013, 2014, the rise of Daniel Bryan, and how that push was very much a fan initiated push that eventually caused the WWE to go, okay, we got to do this. Kofi Mania in 2019, same kind of thing, something that they did not plan for, but the people have spoken. I think what's different this time is there's not a Vince McMahon in charge of creative. So I do think a Triple H is more likely, as we've seen, to listen to what the fans want. I also think the challenge is, can a wrestler actually hold up to what the fans are asking them to do? And so I think that Crown Jewel was that test for LA Knight. They had him go against Roman then. They've paired LA Knight with John Cena. They have now put him in the top tier of the card, even here at the Royal Rumble, which we'll get to his match at the Rumble. I feel like the US title is the right title to put on him, to give him that opportunity to go, see, let me show you guys what I can do. And the Royal and WrestleMania is that kind of moment, I think, where it's like, okay, we gave you this. I mean, we could make the argument going back to 1990 WrestleMania 6, when Ultimate Warrior beats Hulk Hogan, and becomes the world champion. It's like, okay, we've given you the moment. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Right. So I think LA Knight is waiting for them to give him that moment. I think what happened that could be a challenge to all of this was LA Knight got super hot, and then here came CM Punk, and here came back Randy Orton, and then Jey Uso got super hot. Yeah. And so now we've got a whole bunch of really hot stars right now. So the big question now will be, how can LA Knight, stand out in those spaces? And maybe the standout in the world title spot isn't the spot. Maybe the US title is the right place for him.
And just to piggyback too, we also forgot one thing. There's a Miss Jade Cargill somewhere waiting in the wings, and she came out and she was signed and quiet. She's doing her thing.
She's been training. She's been training.
She's just working and sitting back and just waiting.
But wouldn't you? Yeah, wouldn't you, if you were her? And I think with WWE as well, because when she was at AEW, the biggest complaint or thing shot against her was that she was so green, right? And she did what she did with the championship. She's now with WWE, and I think all of us across the board, I don't think anybody can disagree that she has star power, period. She don't even have to say anything. She has star power.
Hands down.
So I think with that, WWE wants to make sure that when she does step out, that star power and the talent, and we might even see a whole different personality in addition to, like, she might be amped up even 10, 100 more times than we saw at AEW.
She could probably be a monster heel or something.
Right. So if that's the case, I wouldn't mind. Like, I think that's why I'm not really calling for her. I wouldn't mind not seeing her until like SummerSlam, or even just her just appear, because we don't know what promotion, what is she doing, NXT, or she's doing May. I kind of think that she should do a short stint at NXT, but again, like, we don't know. I think they kind of learned from, and I know, like, for instance, Ronda and Jade are two different beasts. But I think they kind of learned from Ronda. I think they could have done Ronda a little bit different, where they either started her at NXT, or they're like, look, you have the name, but we want to do this and this and that. So we want to, spend 6 months, developing the character, whether it's doing the acting classes or whatever, and then it would have been a different place. So I feel like they learned from Ronda, and they don't want a repeat of that. So with Jade, it's like, I don't mind. Like, we already see Jade's not stopping to take pictures. Like, she's taking pictures. We know Jade's still alive.
Flicking it up.
Yeah, she's still alive. Ooh. She's still with her husband. Her husband's like, they all good in the social media land world. So I think with that, I'm not looking for Jade until Triple H is ready to push that button. And when they do, it's gonna be like totally different than the
Explosive.
first we saw in AEW. So
Mhm.
I'm not looking for her for Royal Rumble. However, if they do, then I guess she's ready. But I just don't want them to bring her out and she's there for a couple minutes and she disappears again.
Yeah, that I don't want either. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a very intriguing discussion that we had on Wrestle Extra with A Dazzle and Mex on Tuesday about this very topic, and we were pretty much divided. And where I'm at is I'm very similar to where you are, TK. Is I actually don't think we're going to see her tomorrow night, and I don't want people to get their hopes up. I feel, and there are a few reasons why I don't think we'll see her tomorrow night. Number one, there's so much star power that if she's in there tomorrow night and gets overshadowed, people will say the investment wasn't worth it. I think based on the way they rolled out the red carpet for her, she has to have the kind of debut that makes everybody else go, that's the new template. Think about it. She's the first star signed under the TKO umbrella. And I'm going to upset some thirsty fans right now. So let me just upset you. I just said that Triple H does an amazing job listening to fans, and this is true. But let's not forget, he knows what he is doing. He knows how to make a star. And so if he upsets you tomorrow night by not bringing her in, there is a better way to debut her. And so consider, we got a lot of ground to cover between now and Mania and the night after Mania. And there are lots of places for her to show up where she will be able to look like a star. Because that's the key. Because remember, this is the bidding war of 2024. And there are lots of names that are looking at how WWE rolls out Jade Cargill to say, oh, if that's the template, sign me up. And so they're going to handle this well. I think when we see Jade Cargill, her physical presentation is something we will never question. But people were always upset about what she did in the ring, what her character was like, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're going to see a new version of Jade Cargill in the ring. We're going to see her do things that we never thought she could do. And she's going to be so dynamic that we go, this was well worth the wait. And I don't believe that tomorrow night is that place for her to be able to showcase that. For this simple reason, Jade's not going to win the Rumble tomorrow night.
Yeah.
She's not. And that's not because she's not able. It's because, again, we have this plethora of stars who have to now believably hop in the ring for a world title. And we don't want to rush her to that point yet. We want her to slow burn, and we want to enjoy this NXT run. Because remember, she didn't get house shows in AEW. She had a weekly show, and she didn't get 20-minute matches on there. So if you're not getting to do these reps over and over and over again, you just can't grow at the rate that people would like for you to grow. So I think she is a great opportunity. And if she's been training with people like Natty and TJ and who knows, whoever else she's been training with, this is going to be a special debut when it happens. But I don't anticipate it happening tomorrow night. I could be wrong.
Okay. MDB 999 says Jade has been in WWE for almost 5 months now. She's got to have some sort of skill by now.
Do you want me to take that?
It still takes some time, man. 5 months, come on.
Please understand this. And I don't want to, I'm not knocking AEW.
Nobody was created in 5 months.
Nobody has created it. And remember, the AEW style and the WWE style are two completely different styles. They operate things differently, okay? They do television differently. So when you come with, and remember, she debuted literally in the wrestling business in AEW. She did not have any indie experience. She was literally brand new to the business. So she didn't have a performance center to go to every day. You know, it wasn't that kind of thing. Now she gets to be around legends, icons, all kinds of people who can impart things into her that'll make her better. And remember, she's going to be performing in front of more people than she's ever performed in front of in her life. You know, with this kind of contract, this kind of attention, you don't just create that in 5 months, and it's never happened before. So just be patient. Things are cooking. It'll be all right.
You want to add anything that's that, honey? Since you started off this.
I did. I kind of like, you know, kind of went down a rabbit hole on that one. But I was just saying, you never know, because literally you can't. You have to say that you never know and never say never, because it's the truth. Knowing the shock of CM Punk and witnessing that, even when I was watching it, it was just it still blows my mind to this day. And we're in 2024 saying that this man is entering the Rumble, you know, and after he said he'd never be back. So you can never say never. Cody, same situation, and look at it. Look, he's star attraction. He made a name for himself. By all means, do your thing. But like, you know, it doesn't take it definitely doesn't take 5 months for that. You need more time with that. And with CM Punk is just like you just can't never say never. Who knows what's gonna happen? Don't know.
You want to go into this fatal 4-way next?
Yes. So the other match on the card, obviously a fatal 4-way for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns defends the title against AJ Styles, LA Knight, and the returning Randy Orton. Fatal 4-way. This is going to be very interesting. I do believe this is where a large percentage of the time will be eaten up for obvious reasons. I mean, you got 4 guys, so there's that. But let's remember, there's still story to be told. Lest we forget, it was at last year's Royal Rumble where literally the bloodline imploded with Sami Zayn turning on Roman Reigns, which was then at that point kind of the most viral moment for WWE. That would change multiple times during the year, which just speaks to the power of WWE. But that was a massive moment. I believe there's still some story to be told, and the bloodline story has actually cooled off, as we've seen for the last few months. So this will be the right space to inject some new fuel. There's an obvious piece of fuel, but I think there's probably some things we might have forgotten that might show up in this particular space. But I guess the real question is, who walks out as the Universal Champion, or is there actually a question to that?
So it's interesting because I don't know if it was you or Seth who put it in our group chat that apparently Booker T has been pushing for Jacob Fatu to be signed to WWE. And
I'm a fan of that.
I'm a fan of that too. But you know, just how like Solo debuted, could we have something like that where Jacob now debuts and he's definitely like a part of the bloodline? Because personally, as far as my prediction, I don't see Roman dropping. I feel like there's some shenanigans that are going to happen, and he's going to retain. Like I don't feel like he's going to drop it all. I'd be very surprised if he does, just based off of the. I don't think anybody has confirmed that the goal for Roman is to break Hulk Hogan's record, but that's what we're going with. That's kind of what we're going with. So if that's the case, then we're prolonging that. We still don't know the Rock angle if he decides to show up, but the fact that this little piece of news, and again, I didn't get to fully read the article, so I don't know if somebody just took a statement that Booker T said and then ran a whole story with it. But I mean, Jacob has been popping. He's been around for a minute, but he has been popping up in certain places that I feel are definitely noticeable for WWE. And the fact that even if Booker just mentioned him in passing, might speak to like this would be kind of the perfect time for him to debut and cause the win for Roman, and then add to the bloodline. And now he's part of the bloodline when Roman goes and takes another vacation for a couple weeks. So, but yeah, I don't see him dropping it all.
I'm usually very good with these Roman Reigns predictions. I'm so sorry to those who are not with the Roman Reigns tribal chief train, but you keep refusing to acknowledge him, and this is what's going to keep happening. You keep refusing to acknowledge he's number one, and he's on top. Ain't nobody touching him right now. I'm sorry. I called it when he faced Cody. So many people were upset with me, and I loved it. My whole family was watching with me that WrestleMania, and I was just like, told you. Like we know Roman is not losing that belt. Your favorite, whether it's Randy, LA Knight, or AJ Styles, they're not winning, y'all. They're not doing it. It's not happening. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. There's going to be a lot of heavy hitting. It's going to be some flashy moments, and Roman is definitely going to have somebody help him because he's the tribal chief.
So Bobby's saying Jacob Fatu is confirmed for MLW on February 3rd. MDB 999 saying Sola had to go to NXT first. Yes, all that could be true. However, well, the MLW piece is a little trickier, so that does the wrench into what my possible vision is. However, because NXT now is like whoever you are in NXT is who you'll be on the main roster. It's not like some totally different thing. Like, who's to say he can't show up and then go to NXT? Just saying. However, the MLW one definitely more trickier because we already know WWE's history with MLW, and it's not warm and fuzzy. So thank you, Bobby, for destroying my theory. But sometimes it's sometimes it's like that.
Well, and to that end, I will also say that, many fights are advertised and they always have these 4 little words at the bottom that says card subject to change. And so I don't think here's the problem. If MLW today or tomorrow made an announcement that said suddenly that he's off the card, that would raise too many eyebrows. So I don't know that they would necessarily do that. And so we would see. Anything is possible. And I think that's the thing to remember. Again, the CM Punk situation is one that we on the show talked about at nauseum. The wrestling world talked about at nauseum. And we had all settled on the fact that he was not showing up. And so when he showed up, it was great, which says that WWE will go through whatever lengths necessary to keep a surprise. And that is wonderful. So I don't know what surprises may be up their sleeves. I do think that there are a couple of conflicting ideas that are at work that can't all live together. Here's one. So this idea of Roman, breaking Hogan's record, which again is not confirmed. If that's the case, we're going to talk about Roman Reigns through September of this year. Okay. So there's that. Here's the other thing, the potential talk about The Rock, whether or not he will be a part of WrestleMania. Now, I will tell people, obviously, with the news that came out this week with Rock now being a part of the board of directors of TKO, he's a lot more invested in this product than he was last year or in previous times. So you can't rule that out. But here's the other conflicting thing for me. If The Rock is to wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, if it is for the world title, it almost, at least until this past week, seemed like an impossibility that The Rock could beat Roman for the world title at WrestleMania. This board of directors thing could throw an interesting wrench in that. So maybe Roman retains, maybe he doesn't. I do wonder, though, if Roman retaining does somewhat taint our view of a Rock-Roman match at WrestleMania, because it just doesn't feel like The Rock would be able to win a world title and get onto somewhat of a regular wrestling defending champion kind of schedule with that, given all of his responsibilities. And could that be arguably a degree of a conflict of interest as a member of the board of directors?
I mean, Big Nick said it 2024 in wrestling has proven anything, and I think also partly part of 2023 has proven
Yes.
anything so far. It's proven anything is possible.
It is.
Absolutely.
Which is why I can't rule out the potential of Roman possibly losing the championship. Here's why. Because with anything being possible, if you want to create a talking point that's going to get everybody making noise, it's wrong. Now, to me, there's one way that Roman Reigns loses the title tomorrow night, and it's because of his cousin, The Rock. If The Rock shows up, causes some sort of distraction, costs Roman the title, we're guaranteed a Roman Rock match at WrestleMania, with the stakes being whatever they are. If it's not around a world title, it seems like an even kind of playing ground. And to me, I think this is where you really fight for head of the table, a seat on the board, Rock versus Roman. I think you got a thing for Mania if you do that. That's just me. You keep the world title out of it. So it could go a lot of ways, but I do feel like with this announcement from Tuesday, there's no way tomorrow night we don't see The Rock, whether that is interfering in this match or showing up afterwards to kind of help build this story.
Agreed.
Well, anything is possible. Well, who do you have, honey?
The number one tribal chief, Roman Reigns.
I should have known that. My bad.
That was fair. That was very fair.
I acknowledge him. But I do have 2 Rumble requests. I do need a Trick Williams entrance. I just need a pop on that Trick Williams entrance.
Boy, I like it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
And Booker T too, man. He kills me every time. And I kind of would like to see Miss Tiffany Stratton just pull up. I would like two little mini requests. Just saying.
I think we're gonna get that and more. I think NXT is proven to be. I mean, obviously they're not going to change the name NXT anytime soon. I feel like you have the Performance Center where you have the people at the Performance Center who we don't see, and that's what used to be NXT. But the people who get on NXT, like they ready. So I think we're going to see quite a few people from NXT on both sides. Particularly more on the women's side because the NXT women's division is
grown,
crazy,
grown right now.
So
homegrown,
I mean, they could pretty much do
homegrown.
That part. They could pretty much do almost like the whole division for NXT, and then just sprinkle a few legends, like maybe one or two. I don't know. Add a Trish.
They just did a 20-woman Rumble last week, or 20-woman Battle Royal.
The Battle Royal, yep.
So
there it is.
They got the people.
And they got some girls.
Yeah, I think we'll probably also see a Braun Breaker sighting at the Rumble, a Carmelo Hayes sighting at the Rumble. I think both of those are easy to see happen. But that Trick Williams
definitely
one,
Carmelo.
Yeah,
I need the Trick. I need that one of all of them.
That
of all
thing
of them, I need
in 70,000 people.
I mean, you can even almost push that storyline.
Goosebumps.
Oh my gosh. You saw the one where he was walking on the beach with the music? I was like,
stop
I haven't
it.
seen that one.
Stop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was I was like, okay. Yeah.
That just did something. Okay, I see.
Yeah, it did. Sorry, it was just kind of like one of those things. It had a moment. Like I was like, and I'm not one for giving people their moments, especially when guys do that stuff. But it's like, oh, the music was perfect. Wow. The swim trunks was just right, not too short, not too long. It was Gucci. So
Okay, I'm so done.
Okay.
You know when you're scrolling, because I don't be scrolling that often. Again, I subscribe to the Zoe Stark, just posting Ghost. But I can't even remember what day it was. It had to be a couple weeks ago, and I was just like,
"Where is Ced when you need him?" Ced would be all over this moment right now.
Oh my gosh, Cousin Ron, not smitten, just appreciation of a good body of work.
Yeah.
Literally.
I see. Oh, well, all right.
There it is.
I don't know if I can use that line at any point in time, but
what she said.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what we got next?
Well, before that, I will say this. It was about a year ago. I was doing an interview with Diamond Dallas Page, again, with my UK buddies. And we asked him, who do you think is kind of the next guy And this was right after Stand and Deliver last year. And his answer shocked us all. In like April of last year, he says Trick Williams.
Oof.
And DDP was right. He was right. So I'm excited about that. Oh, yeah. Now, if Obafemi shows up in the men's rumble, that said, oh, yeah, that would be, oh, well, okay. All right.
No, I mean it that way.
Let me get his entrance music here.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm just, no, I meant that like, it just
This is great. Speak his name and he'll appear.
What up?
Simple as that. Simple as that. We're here. We're in, was it Tampa, St. Petersburg?
Yes.
I ain't worried about these either one of those cities. I'm trying to go to Vice City. Got off the plane, got into my rental, said we're going to Vice City tonight.
Said, please tell me you just saw what happened in the last 2 minutes of this show.
Really, Professor? That's what we're doing?
So I did not see that because I hopped on and then I had to come back, make sure my directions were straight. It's straight now.
I was going to bat for you, brother. I was going to. Let me tell you what happened.
Wow, Professor, that's what we doing now?
No, I'm just recapping. You listen. You can go back and watch it during the replay. Wrestling with Honey, who is our wonderful guest here, said that she had 2 Rumble requests. One of them being Tiffany Stratton, which that all makes sense. The second being Trick Williams. I was like, I'm all for this because, you know, the whole whoop that trick, 70,000 people, count me in. TK starts talking about, you know, did you guys see the video of him on the beach? I've not seen this video. And she's talking about how the music was right and he was, you know, and she used these words. She said the swim trunks were not too long. They were not too short. They were just right. And so someone in the chat says, hey, are you smitten? She says, no.
That was Cousin Ron, by the way. Always throwing shit. The family shade train.
It's no shade.
Here is what we're referring to.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, we're showing the clip.
There it is.
She's showing the clip.
There it is. That's it. Yeah, that was it. I remember this clip.
Yeah, well.
Can we not see? Everybody's in silence. We're all appreciating the video. There it is.
TK, I can't say I disagree. Oh, that's all I'm gonna say.
We're appreciating the video. Okay.
I need to be good because I'm a married lady.
Hey, your secret is safe with all of us. Hey,
he's watching me right now too. It's hilarious.
Who are we to judge?
It's great.
And it's like, and you're married. That's, I mean, he posted the video. You saw the video. It's kind of like, not my fault. Yeah, you know, you're not gonna head to Trick City. You just stay where you at. It's what it is. Professor and Cousin Ron, I'm highly disappointed in you guys.
Wait,
but it's okay.
No, Cousin Ron.
For all the people who are watching the stream, I want you to know that here at WWT, we're a family show. We don't promote any type of negativity or any type of aggressive acts of lust here. You know, we're a family show.
Really? Coming from you, said he said? Coming from you.
I just wanted to set the record straight. I don't know what happened.
Fred's about to pound the streets.
It's dark outside. He's driving in the car. He's headed to Vice City.
Yeah, we're done with Pound Town. We're going to Vice City.
Wow. We're done with wow. Okay.
Nice. I'm sorry, honey. I mean, you know, it's supposed to. It tends to go off the rails when Seti said.
Baptism by fire.
You guys are totally good. I'm having a great time.
What we got next, Professor? So we can move on this train, so honey don't get trouble, and we all.
Let's keep her out of trouble. So, Dark Side of the Ring is coming back, season 5, which is pretty exciting, and we are now finding out some of the topics that are up for discussion. One of them being the late, great, sensational Sherry Martel, also known as Queen Sherry. Some called her Scary Sherry. She's going to be a part of this. And the premiere will air on March the 5th. So we're not far away from this. at all. I'm very intrigued at this story because she was really a pioneer, one of those women who was a strong wrestler, but also presented the strong valet role and strong manager. She was a WWE Women's Champion for 15 months. She was also an AWA Women's Champion. She managed Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, Shawn Michaels. She was very much involved, of course, with Harlem Heat and Booker T. Passed away in 2007, and she was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2006. So it'll be interesting to see that. I've seen some other names and topics thrown around as well for season 5 of Dark Side of the Ring. But again, it's hitting starting on March the 5th. And we know Dark Side of the Ring is usually very, very thorough with their stories and the like. And yeah, I'll make sure I double check some of these other subject matters that are coming for Dark Side of the Ring.
Shout out to Cousin Ron. It's 7 o'clock on the dot. Sed's in the drop top, cruising the streets.
Boom, 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 boom.
That's so uncalled for. That is so uncalled for.
I mean, like there's just enough light where we can make out who you are, but then it's also just enough light that it's just like we really don't know what's really happening in the car. So,
oh boy,
you know. Big Nick saying Sherry, the innovator of women's managers in ballet, definitely agreed to that.
Yeah.
She was also that infamous Booker T promo on Hulk Hogan.
She is. So I do have some of the other topics that are up for this season, which I think will be very interesting. Terry Gordy, who was a member of the Fabulous Freebirds. Also, gentleman Chris Adams, without whom we would not have a Super Kick party. Also, Chris Colt, the Sandman. You'll remember the Sandman from ECW. Earthquake, who was part of a team called the Natural Disasters. Then there was Harley Race, who was one of the most revered NWA world champions. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, which I think should be a very interesting story, as well as Buff Bagwell. And then there's a story about Black Saturday, and I'm not sure if people are familiar with what Black Saturday was, but Black Saturday was when Vince McMahon in 1984 purchased Georgia Championship Wrestling for access for its spot on TBS. Now, this was eventually going to become WCW, but he purchased it so that WWE would then be airing in that territory of the South, which at that point was really unheard of. And it is believed that when what was then WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, actually purchased that slot back, that money was actually, it's alleged, used to fund WrestleMania 1. So it's a very interesting story. All of these stories will be told with, I'm sure, very interesting detail on Dark Side of the Ring. Again, season 5 begins on March the 5th on Vice TV, which again probably doesn't air in Vice City. I don't think.
Wow. I mean, Professor, I don't know if you ever got one of these, but you.
Oh no!
You definitely earned this one. I don't even put it in because we don't see JD or Kane anymore, but you earned this one.
Wow!
Gave him the womp
womp. Okay, all right.
Not the womp womp.
Oh.
Goodness.
Everyone's like some rain.
Cedric just pulled up to Vice City. His camera's. Wow. What we got next?
Some sad news. They've been rumoring this for quite some time, but it is official that Kevin Patrick, who was the lead commentator for SmackDown, has officially been released by WWE. There's not been an official reason given. This had been rumored for about a week or so. Of course, he was on SmackDown last week. He initially started in WWE as a backstage announcer before taking the role of commentator on Monday Night Raw. He was on Raw for quite some time and then popped over to SmackDown. Eventually, at one point in a 3-man booth with Corey Graves and Michael Cole. Michael Cole then ended up doing just Raw. So it was Graves and KP. KP was also a part of that podcast, the After the Bell podcast, which was recently canceled. Now, for those who don't know, Kevin Patrick is also the voice of the Atlanta United, which is the Major League Soccer team here in Atlanta. And he's been doing that. And so, he's not without work per se, but certainly we don't like to see anyone lose their jobs there. It's not part of a massive cut or anything else like that. This was just very specific to what happened with Kevin Patrick. It is believed that tonight Michael Cole will be back on the call for SmackDown, but it is believed that that is temporary. We don't know who will fill in that particular role for a long-term basis, but that's the latest with Kevin Patrick.
Yeah, it's I mean, him, Kenty Mitchell. It's like, you know how sometimes you see some commentators and they're struggling a bit. You're like, yeah, they're not going to be here for too long. I didn't get that feeling from Mackenzie or KP. So it's one of those things where you wonder what the direction is. You wonder a couple of things. One, money wise, like, who can you pull that's already within the roster that's going to save you whatever, if it is a money thing, or two, creative wise, and they already have somebody else in mind. So it's just always those type of jobs. Unfortunately, I mean, unless you're like Booker T, because Booker goes and comes as he pleases. It's usually they call him back when it's like, look, we need you. But it seems like, look, I'm doing other things. Like, he's good where he's at. But it feels like a lot of the other jobs, they're, especially the commentary. Well, I mean, just wrestling in general, right? Like nobody's safe. I think the world in general, the way we are in society. So it is sad, but it is good thing that, he subscribes to my professor's model, multiple streams of income. So if you get let go from one, you still got another one. It's it's still a little bit of it hurts a little bit, but it doesn't hurt as much. So there's that. Dylan saying, Professor, what you doing next Friday?
Going to Vice City.
Professor 2 is married, so we do not need, he has a little
Vice City,
that's
no
looking
Vice
up
City,
on
but nobody,
looking up to him as
Vice
well.
City.
So we don't.
I leave for a couple of minutes, so here come you guys tee-hee-hee-ing about Vice City.
Yeah, the rumors was that you hit Vice City and the cameras went black. That's what people were saying. So
just to piggyback off of what you were saying, TK, about what was it? Damn it, where did I draw a blank? What just happened? See, Cedric came in and just like threw me off. Vice City. I'm thinking about Vice City. It's gotta stop. My husband's here. but talking about, I would have to remind everybody that what happened last year at the Rumble was that there was somebody who did join the commentary team for another few months because college football is over. A certain Mr. McAfee could easily fill in that position temporarily for a while because he's always entertaining and I love watching him. But you never know. But he was the first thing that opened up the Rumble last year. And Michael Cole was all ecstatic that he was there, and Corey was pissed, which was great. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, McAfee is a conduit for like wrestling news into sports news, like
crossover, big time.
Yeah. Nick Khan was on the show. Obviously, we saw The Rock back in Colorado, but I mean, that would make sense, especially with this deal with TKO and everything that's going on.
Paul Heyman was just on his show, and they were mentioning Kevin Patrick and everything. And Pat McAfee jokingly said, "I heard there's a commentary position open." So you never know. They love to work it. I tell you that.
That part. The tease is real. The tease is real.
It's legit.
Do you have anything to add to that? He said.
What was the original question as far as like surprises or?
KP being let go.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate because it seems like they tried to pivot with him multiple times. I feel like maybe they just didn't give him enough of a leash, or maybe they just fell and succumbed to like social media backlash or comments about his styles. Like I think they could have easily just paired him with a different counterpart that could have made more sense, whether that be like Caleb Braxton or somebody like that, somebody that can help bring out his personality more. That's why it's a bummer for me. I feel like you could have pivoted and went to like main event or level up for a couple months and just let him flesh out his character more, as opposed to just pulling the plug altogether.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing Professor, I'm sure you can talk more into this. That earpiece, the earpiece from the talent to the producer is very like, if you get that producer pissed or whoever is on the other side of that earpiece, like you not getting it, That's a problem. Like, we can like you as much as you want, but if you're not,
Right.
if you're missing cues, if you're missing something and you're not getting whatever happened at an earpiece, and it's literally a millisecond, you going from somebody talking to you from wherever into your
Yep.
earpiece, you're still saying something, you still have to like that's a whole skill, and we don't know what happens in that in between time versus what we see on TV, because a great person who has that experience, knows what they're doing, they can cover that up, but everybody backstage knows when the F up happens.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I think there are so many elements to it that most people don't understand, and you wouldn't be able to see just from the onset that, there could be a lot that went into this particular decision. So yeah, it's hard to say for sure. I think one of the challenges that we've seen over time is WWE isn't necessarily the greatest fit for everybody who does some degree of commentary. They're not necessarily looking for what other spaces like, we've seen people from baseball try to come in. We've seen people from football try to come in, and it doesn't always, it's not an easy perfect fit. So I think sometimes that's a challenge. And I don't know what the specific thing was for Kevin Patrick, but I definitely wish him well. And it's kind of an unfortunate thing. I just don't like for anybody to lose their job, but they have an expectation, and with any job, you've got to be able to meet that expectation.
There it is, and nothing's promised. Do we got anything else?
I know a guy that can meet the expectations. Just throwing it out there.
I think we all know a guy. But we'll say
We've met
that
a guy
for another
once or
day.
twice. Now we'll leave with this. There was mention of Booker T, and so there's a very interesting collaboration that's just been announced between Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling, and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. It is a groundbreaking talent exchange program that is designed to really revolutionize the wrestling landscape by showcasing top talents from across these three brands on each of their different television shows. So it's kind of exciting. Now, Booker T's Reality of Wrestling is headquartered in Houston. Memphis Wrestling, obviously in Memphis, Tennessee. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, obviously from Hollywood. They have three different television products, but being able to cross-pollinate with their talent is going to be very interesting. So it's almost like a we've talked a lot about this forbidden door kind of thing. We don't see it a lot in indie promotions, but it is pretty neat to see these nationally recognized promotions do this kind of thing. And again, knowing the connection that, for instance, a Reality of Wrestling has with a WWE and or with an AEW, with a Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Similar, they've had a connection with the NWA over time and some other promotions. So Memphis as well. So all of these spots are really, really great to see thriving and doing well, because again, these are the spaces that major companies like TNA, AEW, and WWE will look for talent.
Yep. Seti, honey.
Oh, but I mean, by all means, bring Booker T. I mean, I don't know. There's some moments where I really can't take Booker T on commentary, but I could live with it because he's Booker T. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it kind of reminds me of when Macho Man used to commentate with Vince back in the early 90s. Like, so I'm on board with it, and I think everything that Booker T is doing and has done turns into gold. So I think the world of Booker T.
Yeah,
I think for the Rumble too. He was teasing that, I think. Didn't he tease that? Or he did that last year?
Yeah.
Said
he might do it again. That'll be funny.
I was gonna say, I just love that. Like, Booker T is really advocating for the superstars of tomorrow and helping build bridges so more people can reach and achieve their goals. I think also he's going to be having Duke Hudson come down to Reality of Wrestling. I think he had a quote about his goal is to get Jacob Fatu into WWE and make him the next big star and be his advisor. So having that type of three-way partnership amongst independent promotions is huge, because it just helps them be a bigger entity to some of these bigger brands. Just great work by Booker T.
All about helping the kids, this next generation.
With all those lights in Tampa, it looks like SETI is working one of those kind of Ubers. Okay.
So I made it to somewhere, and I might be, I may be lost. You know, but I play it off. I play it off very well.
Okay. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a great pipeline. It kind of almost might be like a secondary or a third pipeline for and I don't know if wrestlers are saying that these days because there's only so many slots for WWE. A lot of wrestlers that have been interviewing, they've said, WWE is not the end all be all anymore like it was 5 or 6 years ago. So I think the goal is to just be able to wrestle and not have a side gig, like the wrestling pays the bills, and then realize how you can make this work for the long term or the short term, or however long you plan on doing it. I think that's the goal, and having that kind of partnership between the three guarantees at least some type of job and storyline across board, or you're finished with one promotion, you go to the other, and it's kind of that seamless. The bad thing is if you have a reputation, then you're now screwed out of 2 other promotions. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just kind of like you have to be on your you have to have the locker room etiquette. I had a friend who was in the NFL, and he said the most important thing is like, yeah, you can have the skill, but if you don't have that locker room etiquette behind the scenes with the players and the coaches, you could be the most talented person in the world, but you're not going to get it. And ironically, I had a conversation with somebody else about a certain wrestler, and that's exactly what's happening to them. It's like they're the most talented individual in the world, but you see this person, you're just like, why aren't they at all these places? They have the number of years experience, and the alleged of the locker room etiquette is not great. So
your friend at the NFL, which phone line did they have?
They had they had and still have my main phone line.
Oh, just checking. That had nothing to do with the conversation. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, it is what it is. I'm blonde now, so we'll see what happens. With that being said, what we got next?
No, I think that'll just about do it for tonight.
Man. I think I'm done.
I think we've covered, because tonight was really all about that. But if there's one last thing we want to mention, it is TNA, man. Like they're just killing it.
Yeah.
They're killing it. Last night, of course, Kazuchika Okada, who is about to be the top male free agent, was on the show in the main event. But really, everybody's talking about what happened at the end of Impact. Excuse me. Yeah, TNA Impact. That was the name of the show. Where a video aired where we're going to be getting Mustafa Ali in TNA. And as of right now, he's going to be at 6 TNA shows between February and March, which means we'll be seeing him at places like No Surrender, Sacrifice, even at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia at the end of March. So this is going to be really interesting. And I mean, the world tour that we've seen Mustafa Ali on, whether that's in New Japan, a number of these indie spaces, he is really crushing it. And him in TNA is a perfect fit. I'll be intrigued to see if it becomes something long-term, but I'm excited to see what can happen in February and March.
There is, yeah. I mean, I feel like every promotion, most promotions, they're really getting it. And I think you guys can figure out which one's kind of like still lagging a little bit. But I think once you get out of your way and you see the direction of the promotion and really tap into the people who are the creatives and the wrestlers who really want to invest in, their career creative wise, you're seeing amazing things. It's kind of like when you want to kind of control everything, that's where it gets kind of stifling. And, a lot of people, fans and wrestlers, are not happy.
I'm actually really excited for Mustafa Ali. I didn't see anything that happened. I didn't watch it live, but I saw the clips and everything. I mean, Mustafa Ali was always had my eye, even when he was in WWE, and I always wondered why they never gave him at least a shot at something. You know what I mean? Like a real shot. But with the, I'm more excited because it's a fresh start for him, and he is one of those superstars that is deserving of getting that rocket on him at a development or at another promotion and just kill it. Same goes for Dolph. He was the show off for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? So now let them ride. Let them ride that rocket. It's gonna be great. I look forward to seeing what they do this year.
Speaking of riding rockets, anything else that he said?
Oh my God. I fell out. I'm done. I can't. That's funny. That's great.
So Mustafa Ali, it'd be great to see what he continues to do on this Ali World Tour. And what I like about Ali a lot is that he's such an innovator. He's really good at reinventing himself, but we haven't been able to see that on screen and on actual television. So now we're being able to see what that wrestling mind can really produce, not only in the ring with different types of movesets, but the character changes that he's been trying to do behind the scenes for so many years. That's the most exciting thing for me, is being able to see these characters that he's been wanting to actually bring to an audience. And I think once we see like how beautiful his wrestling mind is, a lot of people will become fans overnight.
There it is. I think that's a nice bow tie on it all. Definitely shoot us your picks for Royal Rumble when you watch this. But yeah, to our newbie, I hope we didn't scare you away. I hope you're,
Oh no, please. No, y'all are great.
Tune in with us. But where can everybody find you?
No, y'all are great. I would love to do this again with you guys. Your energy is great. I've been watching y'all, flicking it up and watching y'all for a while now, and I'm just glad you guys invited me on here. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok for right now. And I also have Wrestling with Honey YouTube that's in development as well. After this, I will be going live for SmackDown, and I will be celebrating my 1-year anniversary starting Wrestling with Honey tomorrow for the Rumble live. So a lot of exciting stuff this weekend. So you guys kicked it off for me. So I really appreciate the energy, because I definitely needed the boost. So thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Seti said in the streets. What you gonna be doing tonight, I guess? Have you hit Vice City?
I have no idea. That is not for public ears. What I will be doing, but tomorrow I'll be doing the Royal Rumble. Meat, rocket ships.
Actually, before you do that, before the Rumble, you can also check out our merch store.
Hey yo, you that's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen, not knowing what you want to do, like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. Alright? What you waiting for? Head to www.talkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit.
My bad, Seti said. Yeah, I agree. Dylan, our unofficial official producer, I did cut off said. So continue said. We want you to get back to your street shenanigans.
I don't know what we were talking about. You're too busy like referencing meat and rocket ships. So I just want to let everybody who's watching know that this is a family show. Don't let that distract you from the fact that children watch this show, and we want to make sure that we are good role models for them. But yeah, I guess you want to know where to find me. You can find me on Twitter at @says, that's CEDD_SAYS, on the gram at Said is the Answer. I write for Daily DDT. There'll be Royal Rumble content this weekend. Check out my journalism stuff on CedricDWeldon.com. I don't know if I missed anything else. Oh, I'm here on this platform Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we're in Tampa. If I see you wearing an EST of WWT shirt, I'll buy you a shot.
Hey. Salute.
There it is. Professor, where can everybody find you and Little Professor?
You can. There's actually a video I'm working on with him that will crack you guys up. Like he did something and I just went, what? Yeah. So I'll share that at some point. But you guys can follow me at Bonnerfied across all the socials. You can check out my commentary work with Southern Honor Wrestling and IWE on IWTV. You can check out my commentary work with All Caribbean Wrestling on their YouTube page, The Nightmare Factory on their YouTube page as well. Ashe Wrestling at AsheWrestling.com. And why not? I'll share this breaking news with you guys. So you guys may or may not be familiar, but Dusty Rhodes, before he went to NXT, he had an independent promotion called Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. So it's probably news we should have shared. Anyway, that particular brand is being revived by Dusty's daughter, which is Cody's sister, as well as QT Marshall.
Wow.
So they are reviving that.
Oh.
The pilot episode will tape on February the 8th, and I have been asked to be part of the commentary team for that. So pretty exciting.
Awesome.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Awesome.
So you'll be able to check that out at some point, wherever that will be available. So just all kinds of fun things happening. So follow at Bonnerfied. There you go.
I thought it was something totally different, but we can talk about that off air.
I know.
You can follow me at everything at TK Trinidad.
Y'all were like, oh yeah.
I know. I was like, is this it? So you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Make sure you check out Women's Wrestling Talk on all social media platforms at www.talkpod.com, www.talkpod. Cousin Ron asked if there is going to be a post show. There possibly is going to be a post show, so definitely check out our socials for that. We're ramping up for some stuff for February, and we also just announced if you go to our social media page, if you are of the betting ilk, we just partnered with a betting company, so you can place your Royal Rumble bets, your NFL bets, your basketball bets, your NHL bets, all the bets using our code. So that's all over our social media. We'll be debuting that on the show as well too. So with that being said, yes, Dylan's saying congratulations, Professor. Thank you guys so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Till next time, guys. Ciao.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go off. This is Shayna, the Queen of Spades Baszler, and you're watching Women's Wrestling Talk.